With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I am delighted to have you with me. The phone number, if you want to call in, 877-973-7425. Can I do a quick reset with you for just a minute here? Because we have a large number of new people listening. We've picked up in the last month. We're in Phoenix, Arizona. We're in Lafayette, Louisiana. We're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're in Gainesville, Florida. We're in South Florida. We're growing. I mean, we picked up Greenville, South Carolina earlier this year. We picked up Hartford and Bridgeport, Connecticut. We've got a lot of new stations. So I'll do this very quickly for folks who don't know. I'm a professional now. This is the longest job I've ever had, but I fell into radio completely by accident when a guy got arrested in a crack house. I was a lawyer. I was a miserable lawyer. So I went to law school because I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. Was working for a member of Congress at the time in Middle Georgia who told me that a law degree was like an MBA for politics. And so I went to law school and then married my wife. She and I had known each other in college. She moved away and then reconnected when I was finishing law school. And she did not want to move to Washington, D.C. So I was like, okay, I'll get a job in Atlanta. She says, no, what part of don't like big cities did you not understand, idiot? So we stayed in Middle Georgia and I practiced law for 5 years and then took a job in Washington where I commuted every week. It was miserable. And after a year, I had helped some friends start a website called redstate.com, thetime.org. We moved to .com. They put me in charge of it, and I became the editor of Red State for 10 years. Sometime around 2009, 2010, Herman Cain decided he wanted to run for president of the United States. And I did not know that at the time. And about the same time this happened, the local radio show host on Cumulus's WMAC in Macon, Georgia, where sadly I am not on the radio, despite literally looking at the building where it broadcasts from right across the street from me. Hint, hint, Cumulus. He got arrested in a crack house. Yes, literally got arrested in a crack house. So it said he was making a rap label. And they needed someone. Well, by this time, I was doing Red State, and I was also a political analyst for CNN. Rush Limbaugh, by the way, was a friend and pushed me to go to CNN. Fox was looking. He's like, no, you need to go to CNN first. Learn how to work with the people who hate your guts first. So I did. And they called from the radio station and said, hey, can you do radio? I said, I have no idea. Well, I did. A day became 3 days. They wound up firing the guy. I did morning radio, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did I mention I'm not a morning guy? I did 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for 3 months, and I got paid in an expired gift certificate to Outback Steakhouse. I know it was an expired gift certificate because I took my wife and had to wind up paying. I went all out, too, on that dinner, by the way. But nonetheless, folks at Cox Media Group in Atlanta heard me on the radio, thought it was my show, offered me Herman Cain's job. They had no idea I was not a radio guy. And now it's the longest job I've ever had. And when my friend Rush passed away, I moved from evening drive time to noon to 3 and got permission to syndicate my show. And Compass Media is the syndicator that syndicates my show around the country. And now we're in 40 some odd markets and continuing to grow. And now, as of today, really in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is home territory for me. I'm a native of Louisiana, grew up in Dubai, but from Louisiana. Left high school after the Edwin Edwards-David Duke race. I was like, I can't live in this state, and moved to Georgia. Met my wife and have stayed in Georgia with my wife. We were actually back in Louisiana a couple of weeks ago for my dad's birthday. They're still over there. But nonetheless, that's me. Welcome to the show. As always, you can call 877-973-7425. I need to talk about Hamas again. And this... we're not gonna drive up Eric's blood pressure today. As an aside, I was telling some friends this story this morning. So several months ago, I had this runaway blood pressure issue. I realized this is not talking about Hamas. I'm trying not to work my blood pressure up. But several months ago, has this happened to any of you? Probably not. But so I have like this runaway. I'm not feeling good. There's something wrong. My wife takes my blood pressure and it's just through the roof. She's like, you need to go to the emergency room. So off I go to the emergency room. And my blood pressure is like bad high blood pressure. It's like 200 over 100 something. And they're like, you're going to have a stroke. And they start talking to me about cocaine usage. And I'm like, I don't do drugs. Why? And the doctor looked at me. He says, Mr. Erickson, whenever we have a white-collar white man come into the emergency room with high blood pressure, we have to talk about drugs. Are you kidding me? No. It turns out I actually just had some sort of virus that spiked my blood pressure, but they put me on blood pressure medication for a while, convinced that I had blood pressure. Was like, you can drug test me, I promise, no cocaine in the system. And the doctor, I've subsequently seen him at the golf course, and we've laughed about it. He's like, you have no idea, like lawyers, doctors who come in and they're your age and have out of control blood pressure. The number of them who are like snort something. I am profoundly amazed. I live a naive, sheltered culture. I'm just going to tell you that because I'm shocked that would be the first thing that would go through their head. And yet here we are. Now I'll talk about Hamas and try not to get my blood pressure up. My gosh. There's been an attack in Jerusalem. 2 people are killed and done so by Hamas. Hamas has taken the credit for it. Hamas killed the Jews. By the way, do you know, you've seen the pictures of, he's just adorable. He's precious. He's the 2 or 3-year-old redheaded Israeli boy who was taken hostage by Hamas. His body is being returned to Israel today. They killed him. Awful. But Hamas doesn't really want a ceasefire. You know, they keep saying that this is just about Israel. They keep saying it's about Israel, and yet they keep protesting Jews generally around the world. I'm beginning to believe this isn't really about Israel, it's about Jews. They tried to shut down a Christmas tree lighting in New York City last night, and there were some Jews among the crowd, and they started attacking the Jews at the crowd. Even though it was Christmas tree lighting, they were there to watch it, and the Palestinian protesters started harassing the Jewish people, calling them all sorts of names, making them fear for their lives. The dean of Columbia's law school has resigned following a string of anti-Semitic incidents on that law school campus. And again, this is the thing that I keep coming back to. We keep being told this is about Israel and the Israeli quote-unquote genocide that's not a genocide. Or Israel making Gaza be an open-air prison from which people can come and go. But it's just remarkable to me how it's always about the Jews. I mean, it is always about the Jews. If it was just about Israel, you wouldn't be harassing Jewish people in the United States, except the incidents of anti-Semitism in the United States have gone up 400% since October 7th. When Hamas attacked Israel. And now you've got, during a ceasefire, Hamas attacks Jerusalem, kills 2 people, takes credit for it. Hamas took credit for it. And you will notice all the people who wanted a ceasefire, they're not saying anything. It's almost as if people want Israel to cease firing so Hamas can kill them. It's striking how that works. What's happening here is this is very much like the Henry Kissinger stuff. The left tries to find a palatable argument for people to avoid exposing their real argument. So with Henry Kissinger, the left says he committed war crimes, and in reality, their real grievance against Henry Kissinger is that he propped up the United States and helped us win the Cold War. With Israel, they say that it's their treatment of the people of Gaza. And in reality, it's that the Jews breathe. Not a whole lot of nuance in there. The pro-Palestinian argument. The pro-Palestinian argument is actually an argument in defense of terrorism, and they wrap themselves up in postmodern speak about colonialism and anti-colonialism and intersectionality and things like that. You know who were the big colonizers? I don't know if y'all know this or not, but there was this group of people who decided to just dominate the world, and they enslaved a bunch of people. They put a whole bunch of people in chains. Enslaved a whole bunch. They killed so many people, and they were the dominant colonizers. They were called the Muslims. You ever hear of them? Yep, the Muslims. There's this guy named Muhammad, ran his armies across North Africa, enslaved a bunch of people, killed a bunch of people, took over the Holy Lands. Things like yep. Real. You want to talk about colonizers? There's you a colonizer, Muhammad and the Muslim hordes. But somehow the Jews are the colonizers? Really? They lived there first and somehow they're the colonizers? It doesn't make any sense when you get into the logical reasons and arguments and histories of it, but the left doesn't actually care about logic and reason and history. They care about emotion, and they care about skin color deeply. And the left has decided that the whiter you are, the more oppressive you are. And because the Muslim skins tend to be a little bit browner in the Middle East than the Jewish skins, well, clear, it's the Jews are Europeans and they're the colonizers. And who cares what history says? Who cares what logic says? And Jesus was a Jew from 2,000 years ago, and the whole world's about to celebrate his birthday, but they somehow think the Jews didn't live there until 1948. Also, Jesus wasn't a white guy. But they don't care about this. They don't care about the ceasefire. They don't care about Hamas breaking the ceasefire because it's really never been about that. It's never been about Israel. It's been about the Jews. They don't like Jewish people. And that's one of the things the people who are morally equivocating and say, well, Israel's done bad things too. Okay, but this isn't about Israel. Have you put your blinders on? Because they're harassing Jewish people in the United States. Anti-Semitic incidents are up 400%. And then you've got these Democrats out there say, well, we got to do something about the anti-Semitism and the Islamophobia. Don't shoot me. There really isn't a massive increase in Islamophobia in the United States of America right now. Anti-Muslim hate crimes in the United States. There are certainly some. We should deny it. But nothing like what we've seen with the anti-Semitic attacks in the United States. You know, what I'm stunned by, I mean, just the visual for you in Atlanta, the city they say that's too busy to hate. There's a mosque down the street from my studio. On 14th Street. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. I got to tell you, Islamic architecture, I grew up with it. I find it to be absolutely gorgeous. There's a huge story in the Washington Post about how China is tearing down mosques in China and converting them, like getting rid of the beautiful onion-shaped domes in some cases and the Islamic arches and squaring things out and putting in Chinese hexagon-style towers and things like that, just destroying historic Muslim architecture. Islamic architecture is gorgeous. There's a beautiful mosque down the street. You can drive past it. There's also a Jewish center in North Atlanta in a suburban neighborhood. You can drive past it too. The difference is the amount of security that the Jewish center has to have versus the mosque. But you can't have Democrats talking about anti-Semitism these days without also saying, oh, and Islamophobia, because they got to equate the two. There really isn't a mass rise in incidents of anti-Muslim hate in this country right now. There is anti-Semitism. And for all the people who say this is about Israel and what Israel has done and the mistreatment of the people of Gaza by Israel, they don't want to answer the question, well, then why are Jews globally being attacked? They can't answer that because then they would have to probably begin to acknowledge the truth that it really has nothing to do with what Israel has done to Gaza and everything with the fact that Jewish people breathe and walk the planet, and they don't like that. Guys, if you're a small, mid-sized business, you're struggling with HR issues, you have employees not showing up, or you got to do a termination, you need onboarding of employees, maybe there's a sexual harassment complaint. You want an HR manager. You don't want to be the bad guy with your employees. Bambee can play the role of HR for you. $99 a month, available by phone, email, real-time chat. They do onboardings, terminations. They help your team members get to peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations, regardless of which state. They're great. Now, they're U.S.-based. You got somebody to talk to who's dedicated to your team. They give you access to HR expertise, and they add personal touches. So even though they're outsourced by your company, they really feel like they're a part of your team. That matters. Go to Bambee.com right now. Type in Eric Erickson under podcast. When you sign up, it'll help my show. Bambee.com, 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 Eric Erickson in the podcast tab. Hello there. Welcome. Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Y'all, a drug suspect claims the meth fairy has made an appearance. When a corrections officer found a plastic cylinder containing methamphetamine under his, part of his male anatomy, a Florida man. Of course it was a Florida man. Of course. I mean, you knew when I started it had to be a Florida man. Denied ownership of the narcotics and claimed to be unsure of how the package got in his underwear. The discovery of drugs in the underwear of Caleb Phillips, 46, came yesterday evening as he undressed from his civilian clothing and changed into his jail clothing. He had been arrested Monday on a warrant charging him with failure to appear in court in connection with a 2022 DUI case. Phillips reportedly told a sheriff's deputy that he did not place the cylinder in his underwear, but speculated the meth was somehow placed there while he was asleep. He apparently did not identify who purportedly accessed his underwear for the meth delivery. When disavowing knowledge, he advised he believed it contained Advil pills. Cops noted the meth was inside a small package of an Advil inside the cylinder. Wow. So, I had a buddy of mine who he had a indigent criminal defendant who argued that the crack fairy had placed crack in his car. I had a client who claimed that the white man had planted the crack in his car. This guy apparently has a meth fairy who's like feeling him up, like sticking hands down his underwear to put meth there. I would have woken up. That's all I'm saying is if someone had, I'm pretty sure I would have woken up if someone was trying to put something down my underwear while I slept. I'm just saying. But no, apparently the meth fairy is real. The meth fairy comes to you if you're a man who lives in Florida, boys and girls. So that's the moral of the story. If you want the meth fairy to visit you, declare yourself Florida man, and the meth fairy just might show up. All right, we must move on to Eden Pure and the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, which they will deliver this to you, not the ferry. They will via via shipping service, and they give you the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and they get 3 of them for less than $200. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm is an odor eliminator. It wipes out bad odors, smoke odors, litter box odors, the sulfurous, noxious odors of the pagans next door. It wipes out odors, y'all. I've used it in rental cars. I've used it in hotel rooms. I've had hotels use it. Somebody sent me a picture the other day that they were in a hotel that was using it, and because there was a fireplace in the hotel room they were in. It was a fancy hotel too, but they used the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can too get 3 of them: upstairs, downstairs, basement, RV, travel bag, wherever you need it. Very portable. You can hold it in your hand. You can plug it up with a USB cord. You can plug it up into the wall. All you do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K. That's right. My name is the discount code, ERIC, on the front page of the website, EdenPureDeals.com. You will get 3 of them for less than $200. You are saving $200. You get free shipping. It's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code, ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, on the front page of the site. It's a fantastic deal. You can start eliminating odors today. Hi there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson across the nation. The phone number you want to be on the show, 877-973-7425. I'm going to go to Tony's phone call. Welcome to the show, Tony. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. I had the opportunity to study with some of Kissinger's colleagues at Harvard University, when I was studying international relations. And the bombing of Cambodia was necessary. The only ones living in that countryside were the NBA and the Khmer Rouge. And, we know how many civilians they killed. It was just necessary. And if you saw that movie, We Were Soldiers, you saw where the NBA escaped to at the end of the movie. They went straight to Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, a lot of people don't know that in 1969, the Soviets and the Chinese started fighting each other along the border.
Right.
He was very effective in splitting those two. And to the point, he had the Soviets and the Chinese pressuring, basically in competition, pressuring North Vietnam to make peace. Of course, they don't war Democrats got us into and blame Republicans for getting us out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm glad you say this because people do kind of forget what was going on at the time. And there was this big struggle, and Kissinger saw it. Now, for those who don't know the story, Kissinger kind of went off the grid. We were supporting Pakistan. They had a pro-American regime in Pakistan at the time, and they were able to give Henry Kissinger credentials to travel as a Pakistani diplomat to Beijing to begin conversations with, was it Deng Xiaoping, I think it was, after Mao, to begin peace accords with the United States and build a relationship there. And China wanted us to abandon Taiwan, and that's when we came up with our one state, two solutions sort of thing. And we ditched the national recognition of Taiwan, although we continued to protect their sovereignty and agreed we would protect their sovereignty. But it's all he routed through Pakistan, completely off the grid. Nobody knew it was happening. The Soviets didn't catch it until it was too late. The Soviets were already skirmishing along the Chinese border. The Chinese and the Soviets have historically never gotten along very well. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin have probably gotten along the best, and there are still a lot of tensions. It's just remarkable to me that people want to accuse. And by the way, the accusations against Kissinger could be made against pretty much any Secretary of State, whether it's John Foster Dulles or Madeleine Albright or James Baker or Hillary Clinton, you name it. They could all be made. But Kissinger just happened to be highly influential and happened to be in charge during the Vietnam War. And the Vietnam War, of course, leads all sorts of people to lose their minds and relitigate decisions. We were fighting communists. We were fighting the commies that were spreading through Southeast Asia. Started by Lyndon Johnson. We did what we thought we had to do. Really, it was Kennedy who started sending people there. And we were fighting against communists, and people forget that the communists, and we should see it today. We kind of downplay, I think, the severity of communism and just how awful and bad it is. It is a failed, ruthless, atheist ideology hostile to liberty. And yet there are those who continue to embrace it. And many of them are Marxists on college campuses in the United States who have vilified Henry Kissinger for defending the West. He never apologized. You know, one of the hilarious parts of Kissinger's legacy is that he outlived most of his most prominent critics. There's not Jim Garrity at National Review today actually pointed this out, that Henry Kissinger, you're not going to have as much screaming and belly aching and talking heads on television bashing him as you would have maybe a decade ago, because he, being 100, outlived most of his critics. In fact, Henry Kissinger outlived the guy who wrote his obituary at the New York Times. It's just, that's one of the weird things about celebrity culture now, is that as someone gets old, newspapers go on and write their obituaries, oftentimes in collaboration with them. In fact, Charlie Munger of Berkshire Hathaway collaborated with his obituary writers at the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, like gave them interviews for his obituary. And he wound up living. Just remarkable. Now, I gotta move on. I'm gonna weave a couple topics together because I'm kind of getting behind where I wanted to go. But I am happy to take your calls, 877-973-7425, if you want to be on the program. Greta Thunberg, you know Greta. My kid, by the way, is dying for me to get Greta Thunberg audio for my soundboard. I have all sorts of things on my soundboard, different clips and things that I can play as I need to play them. And my kid really passionately desires me to get Greta Thunberg as a clip for my show. I guess I could play this one with all the belly aching from the left today.
Oh, the tears of unfathomable sadness. Yummy, you guys.
I don't play them very much, but I got these little clips, and she just thinks I need to get one of Greta Thunberg's and some of her stupid statements. Greta Thunberg is out there screaming about Zionism, and we need to end Zionism. Now, let me walk this back a little bit for you. Let's get into the way back machine and go back to 2004. Some of you will remember the name Cindy Sheehan. The reason I distinctly remember Cindy Sheehan is that was the first controversy I ever got in online. Oh, you people think it was the Souter remarks. No. The very first controversy I ever got involved with was Cindy Sheehan. Cindy Sheehan had a son who joined the military after 9/11, and he was killed, I believe, in Iraq. He was a proud patriot. His father supported his service. Cindy Sheehan went off the rails with his death. The sadness, the broken heart, and she decided she needed to blame George Bush for his death. Not the people who actually killed him, but George Bush. It really was a tragic story. Cindy Sheehan became a peace protester, worked with Code Pink and other groups. And she hated American foreign policy, and she hated George W. Bush. And every time George Bush would go to Crawford, Texas, Cindy Sheehan would go to Crawford, Texas, and camp out in front of the Bush Ranch and talk to anyone who wanted about the failures of American policy and the warmongering George Jimmy Bush Hitler Halliburton and how many people he's killing abroad and on and on and on and on. They will do, as an aside, to George Bush what they did to Henry Kissinger when Bush dies. The left will. I said that Cindy Sheehan, I wrote at the time, Red State had just started, and I said Cindy Sheehan carried her dead son's memory down to Texas and to use it as a cudgel against George Bush or something like that. And boy, did it trigger people. I had people call my law firm. This is back in 2004. I mean, this was, I was one of the people they originally tried to cancel back in 2004 for saying she was using her dead son's memory as a prop. And she was using her dead son's memory as a prop. If you talk to his relatives, if you talk to his father, everyone said he was proud of his service and believed in the cause. And Cindy Sheehan denied it, blamed George W. Bush. She would dredge up her dead son's memory and use it to attack George W. Bush. And boy, people called my law firm and tried to have me fired. The managing partner of my law firm had been a Marine, and he came down to my office and said a few choice words and told me to keep at it. They called my home. Back in the day, we had what's called a landline phone. They don't make those anymore, I don't believe. Actually, we still have one at our house we need to cancel. And we had an answering machine. And I came home, and my wife, who was pregnant at the time, was no, she was not pregnant. Maybe she, no, I don't think she was. Anyway, can't remember, but she was horrified. There was a man on the phone who left a voicemail who said all sorts of horrible, awful things, including that if my wife was pregnant, I think that's what it was. She wasn't pregnant, but said if she was pregnant, he would want to pull our child out of her, molest the child, and kill my wife. I mean, that was a voicemail left on our home phone by someone outraged that I would say something critical about precious little Cindy Sheehan. Well, of course, you know what happened. She then started saying all sorts of really bad stuff. I mean, some of the stuff she was saying was so wackadoo. The code people were like, Cindy Sheehan, who? She's not with us. Nope. Stop wearing pink, Cindy. Stop wearing pink. You ain't with us anymore. Nope. And they just abandoned this poor woman, this woman who had lost her son, who clearly was driven to great lengths because of the brokenness of her soul after her son died, which you could always understand and be a little sorry for. Even as you thought she did things differently, but she started saying such outlandish crap, they dropped her. Put distance like she's never been with us. That's going to happen to Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg is, of course, like so many of the kids. Remember, I think it was Jim Garrity at National Review this morning pointed out that at CPAC's such a horrible conference these days, but even when I was going, they would bring in these little child prodigies who, oh my gosh, they could quote the Constitution by memory. They're going to be the next great conservative. Let's give them a talk radio show. And then they grow up, discover girls, go through puberty. They want to be liked on college campus. They're like, screw that. I'm a communist. I'm not a conservative. Mao say what? Heck yeah. And the left then does these fawning portraits of the kids like, he's rejected conservatism. He's seen the light. They always go left, by the way, because they want to be liked. And culture leans left. The things of the world hate the things of God, all that. Well, Greta Thunberg is now out bashing Zionists. She's out screaming anti-Semitic platitudes. She's marching with the Palestinians. She's chanting, what are we going to do? Crush Zionism, among other things. Screaming it in Swedish. She should have said it in German. It would have been just remarkable had she done it in German. But it's a Germanic language. At some point, people are going to have their fill of her as well, and they're going to discard her like they discarded Cindy Sheehan. Greta Thunberg has been a malleable puppet for other people's agendas. And she's not really thinking for herself even now. I mean, she's certainly autonomous. She's an adult now. She used to hide behind autism and say she was like that because she was autistic. At this point, she's of age and she has enough volition and free will in her life. She can't really blame other people. But boy, she is, you can see it coming. You can see the train wreck coming with Greta Thunberg. She's going to scowl her way right off a cliff, and those people will not be there to catch her. She will ruin her life, devoted to a cause. You can see the burnout coming. It's sad to see, it's predictable to see, but she's just becoming the little puppet of everything the left believes. Anti-Semitism, hating Jews, hating America, hating everything capitalist, convinced the world is going to come to an end and that she's got to save it somehow. It's so predictable what happens to these sorts of kids. The left uses them, abuses them, and discards them. The secular religion is the cruelest of all the religions. Not only does a secular religion actually lack a God and a higher power, but it lacks a narrative arc of redemption, grace, and forgiveness, and it consumes those within it as well. And it will consume Greta Thunberg just as it consumed Cindy Sheehan. Now, I want you to be a consumer of Stamps.com because they will take care of you. They will even make sure, like yesterday. So I had packages I had to send yesterday. I've got my little thermal printer, connected my computer. I typed out the addresses. I printed everything off. I labeled it. And I said, come pick up my package. And they came to pick up my package. Get your mind out of the gutter, people. They came to pick up all of my UPS packages. It was fantastic. I saved money. Now, these I wanted to get there quick. So I had a little grid with Stamps.com, and it shows you here are the cheapest rates. Here's how fast you can get there. I needed to go fast. So boom, I've already got the delivery confirmations today for the packages. Fantastic. I did it all with Stamps.com. You can too. This is the key. I never had to go stand in line at the shipping, at the package store. Never had to. Post office, UPS, you get the best rates. You save up to 84% off. They will even send you from Stamps.com. If you go click on the microphone and put in my name, Eric, they'll send you a free digital scale. I, by the way, did not get the free digital scale. Just want you to do this. I've been a customer there for like 20 years, well before they were giving away digital scales, but they will for you. Free digital scale and free postage. You go to Stamps.com, you click on the mic, you put in my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You have no long-term commitments. You have no contract to sign, but you get shipping today with Stamps.com. It is marvelous. You do not have to stand in line with all those coffin germy people during the holiday season to ship packages. You just do it with Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com, click the microphone, put in Eric, save today. Hello, my friends. It's Eric Erickson. If you're on the phones, please be patient. I want to get to you. I just don't have a lot of time in this segment. We've got so much more we got to talk about as well. Mehdi Hasan has been canceled by MSNBC, of all things. I can't believe that they canceled they've got enough pro-Hamas shows on MSNBC. And I guess ultimately what it is at the end of the day is MSNBC's looking at their lineup and they're thinking, okay, we've got black woman Joy Reid. We've got Islamic man Mehdi Hasan. Who is more cancelable? Well, in the intersectional chart, men are more oppressor than women. So we got to go with Mehdi Hasan, of course. I mean, y'all know how this plays out at MSNBC. They break out the intersectional chart. And they say, well, we got Joe Scarborough, white male Christian with his wife, white woman. They're at the top of the oppressional intersectional chart, but they bring in ratings, and it is a good show. You may not agree with them, but it's a good show. Then you got Nicole Wallace, a white woman, oppressor. She's above Joy Reid in the oppressor class, but it's ratings. She actually is a competent, sane person, whether you agree with her or not. So that leaves Joy Reid and Mehdi Hasan. Who do we cancel? Black woman, mouthpiece of Hamas, or Muslim man, mouthpiece of Hamas. Well, he's a man, she's a woman. Men are more oppressive. We've got to cancel Mehdi Hasan. That's it. His show also wasn't good. It was barely watched. It generated more views on Twitter for people mocking his show than people actually watched his show. It's just a garbage, pathetic show. He is a garbage, pathetic, apparently just a terrible human being. And I can believe it, given some of the stuff he said over the years. And so they've canceled Mehdi Hasan. Hamas loses a mouthpiece at MSNBC. I guarantee, I will not be surprised at all. Maybe I shouldn't guarantee it, but I would not be surprised at all, given how pro-Hamas Mehdi Hasan is, that the Washington Post finds a way to hire him. Wouldn't surprise me at all, the pro-Hamas Washington Post hiring the pro-Hamas Mehdi Hasan. Now, we got to move on. Before I do, all month long, it's 50% off at Omaha Steaks. In time for Christmas. You're thinking about Christmas presents for friends and family and for business colleagues, things like that. Omaha Steaks, that's where you need to go. Get the bacon wrap fillets, get the caramel apple tartlets. And right now, if you go to omahasteaks.com at checkout, you put in my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, and you will get $30 off the already unbelievable 50% off site-wide savings. You get it shipped to your door or the door of the person you want to impress. Omaha Steaks has so much. They've got great seafood options, too. They've got main courses. They've got sides, desserts. You can feed your family, your friends. They also have the 100% satisfaction guarantee, which a lot of businesses talk about that. Omaha Steaks really lives by it. If you're not happy with your order, they are going to make you happy because they want a lifetime relationship with you. So go to omahasteaks.com. They've been around over 100 years. Not a lot of companies have. They have because of that satisfaction guarantee and the quality of their product. omahasteaks.com. At checkout, you put in Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You get $30 extra off the already unbelievable savings.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.